Good morning. That was a short, sweet service this morning thinking about Doubting Thomas. I always think the name Doubting Thomas is a bit unfair, really, because I think if any of us were in that situation where we hadn't physically seen what all the other disciples had seen, we'd be exactly the same. I'd be a Doubting Thomas, and I'm guessing a lot of you at home would be as well. I found this reflection this morning, which I wanted to share with you. It's written by a guy called Brett Ward, and it starts by talking about the film The Life of Pi. I wonder if any of you have seen that. It says this: doubt can do this. Reflection is important. Fairly early in the film The Life of Pi, there's a conversation between the adult Pi and a young writer. Pi comments, "Faith is a house with many rooms." The writer asks him if there's a room for doubt. And Pi replies, "Oh, plenty, on every floor." Doubt is useful. It keeps faith a living thing. After all, you cannot know the strength of your own faith until it's tested. It could almost have been a post-resurrection conversation with Thomas. Thomas's frequently negative press as the doubter does no credit to the holiness of doubt as one element of a living faith. Through the years, many people of faith have decreed doubt as a terrible thing, a weakness, an opponent of holiness, a sin even. It isn't. And Thomas's role in the resurrection narrative helps us to see why that is the case. Thomas doesn't just shut the door on faith, locking himself away into the stuffy air of a closed-minded room. Instead, with his blunt honesty, he throws open the door and looks for fresh air of conviction. It was not least because of that very openness that the risen Lord was most effectively able to work with him. A closed mind will never see the truth because it's convinced that it already knows. An open mind is a room in which the Spirit can come into with fresh insight, into which the risen Lord himself can come, confronting, enlightening, expanding. It was from the doubting, open mind that when we hear the joyful exclamation, "My Lord and my God," not only had Thomas's honesty created the space for our Lord to transform his doubt, but he had transformed Thomas's doubt into a confession that was to be the climax of John's Gospel. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet who have come to believe, concludes the risen Lord, with words directed at each one of us. John takes this climax and grounds it in its reader's life. Doubts have been honestly spoken and magnificently transformed. As for Thomas, Easter also breathes new life into us. That enlivening breath draws us from honest and holy doubt into the resurrection experience of a faith made all the deeper because of the struggle. I'm sure so many of us can relate to those words. There are times, especially at the moment, when fear seems to rule our lives, when all we see in the media is about the coronavirus and the devastating effect that it's having on our society, on our families and those in our communities that we love. And yet, it's easy in those times to doubt where God is. But God is still working, and it's okay for us to have doubts at times, because in that doubting time, the Spirit can break into our lives and challenge us, giving us a new conviction for what it is we believe in. I want to share with you a prayer. God, I feel like such a fraud. I speak of you and yet I doubt you. Please help me to address my doubts and to speak from a place of certain hope. Please also address my guilt. Assure me that my doubts don't threaten or anger you. Give me an intellect that thinks clearly and a mind that remains receptive to you. Amen.